Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of Direct Shift Stories. And today we are excited. This is your host, Raj. And today we are joined by our special guest with our COO, Wamshi. This special guest is somebody who was personally thanked by Bill Gates. I'm excited about that. And a couple of senators had personally congratulated him for the kind of post which he shares, the kind of engagement for the kind of work which he shares with the LinkedIn community. Please welcome Scott Johnston, um, who is there with us this evening. Probably I would say this morning, though I'm in India, I'm saying this evening, but thank you, Scott, for being here. He's working as health system director at Great Lakes at Indivior Treatment Services, the world leader in opioid addiction treatment. So let's jump in and know more about why we all need to be working in helping others through this post-pandemic. You can call it as the burnout or mental health space. We will learn more about Scott in a while. And thank you, Wamshi, for being here. And we will begin with Scott sharing about his intro, or probably giving a little intro about himself.
Yeah, I'll just jump in a little bit.
Good morning, Raj.
Yeah, over to you, Wamshi. Thank you.
Thanks,
Scott.
Raj. Thanks for yet another great episode. Scott, really excited to have you. You know, you're a leader in multiple areas, so we would love to hear from you. So for the sake of our audience, which is a big network of clinicians as well, please give us a little bit of intro to yourself, your story, and then we'll get started from there.
Absolutely. 53 years old. I've been in the pharma biotech medical device industry for probably, I think, close to almost 28 years. I've worked for companies like Johnson & Johnson, Behring, Ingelheim, SmithKline Beecham is where I got my start, and as just a local sales rep, and kind of worked myself up from there, working in all different capacities, from respiratory to cardiology to addiction treatment to psychiatry medicine. It's been a great journey, and it's been very rewarding. It's something that I have a great passion for, is helping people, and now working for a company like Indivior that helps so many people that are struggling with opioid addiction. It is an amazing job to have, and I look forward to it every day, working with people, working with physicians, working with social workers and counselors that deal with this epidemic across the world with opioid addiction. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge, obviously, but especially during the last year that we've had throughout the world. But it's definitely opened my eyes to what's going on out there. Sometimes you put the blinders on and kind of just go about your job and go about what you're currently doing, and you kind of just forget and you just keep going. And my interaction with Michael that caused kind of over 19 million people to view the post, and some 40-some thousand comments is been overwhelming. It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely helped Michael a lot, which is the goal of this whole thing. It wasn't anything for me. I'm kind of a quiet, private person, so this was not anything that I was doing to boost myself. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania, so not looking for any accolades there. It was just more, I just saw the opportunity to help someone, and that's what I did, and it kind of blew up from there. It was amazing. It's been a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, Scott, that's so modest and great of you. Let me put it that way. And you're a great leader in your space. You're also a great human being. So thanks for sharing that. And it's a great example of a simple act of kindness can move mountains for humanity. So just give us a little more insight into what happened there. How did you get inspired to do that act and share it with others? I'm sure it inspired millions of others to do similar acts, especially, like you said, in this post-pandemic era where people are dealing with how to deal with each other. Tell us more about that incident and that act of kindness that moved many other people.
Absolutely. You know, the interesting thing was that I posted the picture of Michael and I and a little comment in December, but this actually happened in October.
Mm.
So, and it was my very first post on LinkedIn ever. So that's the kind of the amazing thing, that I've liked or shared some things on LinkedIn, but I've never posted anything myself. And so what happened was, back in October of 2020, my wife and I were going to put our house up for sale. We decided to do it for sale by owner, and we got several calls from real estate agents that wanted to come in and take a look at the house and give us their sales pitch to see if they could get the listing. And one of the people that called was Michael, and Michael is a 22-year-old young man from Philadelphia. He called my wife. My wife actually said to me, "He sounds really young," and I was like, "Okay." His last name Phillips means a lot to my family. Phillips is a family name. It's my father's middle name. It's my son's middle name. The real estate agency that he works for is called Keller Williams. My mom, before she passed away, was a real estate agent for Keller Williams out in Los Angeles. So it was just a weird kind of, connection that happened. And so what I saw is, my office actually looks out to the street of our house, and I saw this young man pull up in a car. I saw him kind of take a deep breath, get out of his car, and make the walk in, and was just a kind young man, just trying to make it. He walked through our house. It was the first time he's ever done this. He just did a cold call and met us. And he sat down with us and kind of told us his whole story. He told us about he was attending college in the hometown where I live, in Pennsylvania. And because of COVID, he couldn't afford to go to college anymore. And the problem is once he dropped out of college, he lost his housing. And so in January and February of 2020, he was homeless and living in his car because he couldn't afford to live anywhere. And so he decided to go after real estate and take his tests and pay for his tests and do odd jobs or anything just to get enough money to get an apartment. And he ended up finding one in March. I met him in October on a Wednesday. He showed up. After he met with my wife and I walked him out to his car and was really interested in his story. And I asked him if he owned a suit, because he showed up in sneakers and kind of old jeans and a shirt from the Keller Williams real estate agency. And I asked him, I said, "Do you own a suit?" And he said, "No, I just can't afford one." And he's about my size. I'm 6'4", so he's about my size. So I just donated about 5 suits to a store that helps people. So I came back in, and my wife asked me, she said, "You really liked him?" I said, "I did. I don't know what it is. It's just something." We woke up the next day on Thursday, and she's like, "He's still on your mind, isn't he?" I'm like, "He is." And I called him that day and I said, "Hey, if it's all right with you, can I meet you at Men's Warehouse? And I want to buy you a suit. It's something that you need. It's something I want to help out." And he was so excited. So in the meantime, with that, I got together I had a bunch of brand new ties and ties that I didn't use. And I called my brother-in-law, and he had brand new pairs of shoes that were his size 12, Michael's size. So I got 2 pairs of shoes from him and met him at Men's Warehouse. And the guy there, the manager, couldn't have been nicer. Once he kind of found out what I was doing, he thought it was my employee and I was just buying him a suit. And I said, "No, I just met this young man and I'm trying to help." And he tried on once. And at that point, the guy he opened up everything for this young man and tailored all of his, measured everything out. He's never had that done before. And then when he went back in the room to try the suit on, I said, "I want to get 2 suits, because every professional, you need to have 2 suits. You get a couple shirts and you could have a wardrobe for a week or 2. And when I told him that I wanted to get another suit, that's when Michael broke down and cried a little bit, just because he said no one outside of his family's ever helped. And you could just tell that he's been through a lot, and he was so appreciative and so nice. And so I paid for all that. I actually had the manager take that picture that Raj put on the screen back in October, and that the story that I wrote was really a text message to my children. I kind of just sent it to them because I always try to preach, help people. Don't, you can give a handout, but a handout only helps for a day. If you give a hand up, it helps for a lifetime. And so that's what I was trying to relay to my children. I have a 19-year-old son, a 21-year-old daughter, and a 26-year-old daughter. And I just kind of wanted to make sure that they understand that their father's preaching, but he's also doing what he preaches. And they, they responded well, and it was great. And then what happened was in December, there was just so much negativity out in the world that I just decided to copy and paste from that text to my kids onto LinkedIn, and didn't really think anything about it. I just maybe wanted, if I inspired one person, it would be fabulous. And what happened is probably 3 days later, there was over 1 million views. I only knew probably 300 people on LinkedIn that I was connected to. I mean, it wasn't, I don't have a big network. And all of a sudden it blew up to a point where I was getting messages from people that are with Bill Gates. I was getting messages from senators. I was getting messages from athletes all over the country. And it's been amazing. And then a lot of them want to help Michael. So they reached out to me, and I just tagged Michael on every post that people commented on that wanted to talk with him. And Michael has connected with a lot of different people. He's got 2 or 3 mentors that are working with how he interacts, and they're coaching him. And these people, one guy's from Seattle, another person's from Texas, that they're all working with him. So it's been like just an amazing journey for both of us, and it's been pretty touching. Michael and I are really good friends. I've actually set him up with another friend of mine who was a state trooper. Now he owns his own business, and he was looking for a person like Michael to help him buy properties and develop over on the east side of our town. So they've hooked up. And what we've done, my wife and I, we decided that we couldn't sell our house on our own for sale by owner. It just wasn't. The market just wasn't right for it. So we needed to get a real estate agent. And so it was a no-brainer to go with Michael and give him a shot. And so we listed with Michael on Monday. He actually has a showing this afternoon, and then an open house on Sunday. I'm really excited to give him a chance. I mean, it's one of those things. So many people have helped me throughout my life. I left home at 14 to go to prep school and to play hockey and go to college. And so many people opened up their heart and their homes to me and helped me out along the way when I was younger. And even now, I mean, I see it. I have people that just go out of their way. And it was just one of those things where it was the right thing to do, but it really didn't seem that big of a deal. It was just the right thing to do. And it's kind of blown up to a case where we're getting calls from like talk show hosts and things like that they want to bring Michael on. I kind of push that off to Michael and just kind of let him decide what he wants to do. I don't want to invade his privacy or anything, but I'm looking forward to him selling our house and being there in the closing to really kind of celebrate with him that this is his first listing. So he's pretty excited to get this house and really make a step in the right direction in areas where, you know, being a young African-American young man, you know, there are struggles there. There is some things that go on, especially in neighborhoods where I live, where there isn't a lot of people of color living in my neighborhood. And in order to give him a chance to sell another house in my neighborhood, he's got to have the opportunity to sell one before he gets a chance from someone else. And so that's what I tried to do. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with this young man.
No, that's great. That's such a great story, Scott. You know, I would say it has got to be the poster example of what needs to happen a lot more, especially, you know, in this world which has been troubled over the past many months. How giving a hand up is going to help people, how paying it forward is the way to go without barriers, without constraints. So thank you for sharing that story. Absolutely. I think, you know, we all talk about policy making with respect to equity, equality. Oh, the government should do more, the agency should do more, etc., in healthcare, in this and that. But each one of us can do more on a daily basis. That's exactly what I think you gave the world. And that's the major reason I believe that the world has responded the way it has responded, because we always need that one person to show the way for everybody to do what's already in their mind. But they definitely need that one person to quickly, show the way, shed the light.
Absolutely. You know, people, everyone has it in them. You just have to be willing to take the chance and be willing to talk to people that you want to help them. You're not trying to do it for yourself. And I think that's sometimes what happens is that we help someone, but what we're trying to do is really kind of booster ourselves, and that's not what I was doing, and it's not what Michael knew that as well. It was just one of those things where I saw a need. I saw a young man that is worked his tail off, lived in his car in the middle of January and February in Pennsylvania where it's cold, and didn't complain, didn't tell us that story to try to get a leg up to get the listing or anything. It was just a personal. He was very open and honest, and my wife is one who really kind of took to him. She's kind of taken to him as a motherly person now, which is great. His family's he's a first generation immigrant. His family is from Africa, and they're really nice people. I've had a chance to talk with Michael about his family. Unfortunately, his father just died over the holidays. He was sick for a long time, so it wasn't something that was unexpected. But obviously, when you lose a parent, it's always a tragedy. But just the positiveness of this kid is just amazing. And Michael's he's such an interesting guy. You talk to him, and once you get him to open up and get him to realize that he's on the same level as a peer and he can talk, he's a really, really interesting young man.
Great, absolutely. So, Scott, I mean, obviously, you're working in healthcare. You're a great person. I can already feel the energy. And you work in healthcare, which is driven by compassion. What do you think has really led you to become the person you are today? What was your inspirations, your motivations, your environments, that really culminated into you showing this kind of a compassion? Plus, I'm sure, you chose healthcare space for similar reasons. So what all led to Scott being Scott?
And also, if you could add the journey from being a professional hockey player with the New York Rangers.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was back in 1990 when I had the opportunity to play mostly in the minors for them. But it was a fantastic journey playing professionally. And now my 19-year-old son, is chasing the dream. He moved away from home at 16 and is trying to chase that same dream. So that kind of commitment when you go after something like hockey or any kind of athlete or any kind of thing you're going to be good at, and it really takes. I look at people when I see that there's an underlying current that drives them, and that's the thing that I see and I love about it. And that's when I talk to physicians every day. You can see that the passion that they have and all the hard work they put in, and that's the respect that's there. It wasn't an easy journey. When you become a professional, whether it's a professional physician or a professional athlete or an actor or an actress, you don't get this by chance. You work hard. And that's something that I've been trying to instill in my children. My family is probably the biggest influence I've ever, that's had on me. My grandfather was the director of the UAW, which is United Auto Workers in the United States, and he was very in tune with the racial struggles and the racial inequality that was going on in the 1960s and 50s. He actually marched with Martin Luther King from Selma to Montgomery. He's done a lot of work before Dr. King was assassinated. He did a lot of work with him, and I have several pictures of my grandfather and Martin Luther King.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very it's a private story to our family. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's something that kind of drives our whole family. As a child, I grew up in Iowa, and my grandfather lived in Chicago. The UAW owned a hotel, and they would bring inner city youth every summer into the hotel to give them kind of get them out of the city. And I have pictures with Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas when they were 14 years old, and I think I was 9 or 7, because those are the kids that I would hang out with in the summer. So my family taught me that the color of your skin means nothing.
Yeah.
It's what you have inside and what you have in your heart. And it's something that has carried me, and I carry with I preach my children, my father and my mother. They would preach that every single day. Growing up, we had kids at our house that probably were struggling at home, where my mom would just bring them over and have dinner. And I have an older brother and younger brother, and we just welcomed them in. It didn't matter who it was. And that's just kind of who we were and kind of who we are.
Perfect. I was not distracted. I was texting somebody because I just had this discussion about the march from Selma to Montgomery, and the whole discussion about how in the healthcare equity space, racial determinants of healthcare, including social determinants of healthcare, are becoming more and more important for us to consider. I just had that discussion, so I was texting them that I'm just loving this discussion, with Scott, with his grandfather being a part of the march. And we were just talking about how do we use the data to analyze the inequity and inequality that is now existing in the vaccine rollout space. How do we bring that insights out and help the minority communities? We were just talking about it, and you just kind of nicely segued into it. And you are in the healthcare space as well, Scott, just like us. I mean, we work with clinicians on day in, day out. And it was just, like I said, I was just having this discussion with a few business partners and a few people that I work with about, and one of them, she was mentioning, the data is out there, except, I don't think people are able to bring it out and really see where the gaps are with respect to why the inequities are happening. So, I mean, obviously, when everybody thinks like you, there is no problem. It's like, I think we all are part of the solution then. You're not part of the problem then. However, there are policies, there are actions, there are community actions, there are, decision-making bodies actions, there are people's actions. A lot of them have to culminate into this. And the pandemic has exposed us in ways that we have never seen before, the whole world, absolutely, right? And then you work in the space of the business of healthcare, respiratory health, and now in the psychiatric space. And then, you are very closely in tune with, the racial gaps and constraints that exist with respect to healthcare equity. What do you think needs to happen more of, in this space, especially in the mental health space, as well as, in the general public health space, with respect to closing the equity gaps, especially for minorities?
Well, I think number one, we have to admit it. We have to admit there is a gap. And I think a lot of people normally just put their blinders on and don't want to admit it. But what I've seen is just the amazing expertise and the diversity of physicians and healthcare people in the United States. That's kind of my only view that I have. But what I see is there is the divide is starting to close in my mind, what I'm seeing in the hospital a little bit, because I think COVID kind of brought the best out in a lot of people in healthcare because of the tragedies, because of working together, because of just the emergency and the frightfulness of what was going on. People kind of had to, if you didn't bring that barrier down and work with people to take care of everyone, we may have lost more people in the world because of that. Do I think there's still a gap? Absolutely. Absolutely, there is. But I think that I've seen glimmers of hope, but I've also, you see, the people that go out of their way to make people not feel welcome. And I think that's starting, in the United States, there are, because of what's happened in the last 4 years there has been some divide in the nation. But I think what I'm seeing, and even my friends that were not necessarily my political view of the president today. I mean, I'm happy who we have for president in the United States. But what they're finding is that they're no longer getting that constant hatred all the time. And that was the reason why I made that post. It was just, I just got sick and tired of people just constantly being negative, and geez, it's like, let's get some positivity out there.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That's well said. It's just spreading positivity nowadays has to come very deliberately. Otherwise, there is easier means to spread negativity. So we all have to make that deliberate actions. So as you were talking, and I was thinking, how can more Michaels meet more Scots? How can we make sure, like, for example, we are a community, where we connect clinicians to, hospitals, making the staffing, etc. happen. We are trying to help the healthcare access to healthcare space by making more clinicians available. And we are always thinking, okay, how can we help the areas that cannot access clinicians because of which the patients are struggling? How can we make that connection happen? And in this digital world, trying to use technology to make the connections happen should be a lot more easier. Your post really said it all. It moved a lot of people because of the power of the digital world. So how can more people be helped? Just let's think wildly. How can more people be helped?
You know what? That's a tough question, because it started with Michael making a phone call and taking a chance on an area that made him uncomfortable, I'm sure, coming to a neighborhood like mine, and walking in, but realizing that maybe the stigma that maybe he's heard, and maybe he has felt, racial inequality, but he had the guts to actually make the first step. And to me, in my profession, that says it all. When you're going after something and you're that passionate, it resonates. And when you are, when you're a hard worker and you're not going to have no for an answer, those are powerful things. I think with the digital world, I like LinkedIn. I really do, because it's starting to be, people are starting to post a little bit more about themselves, and you can get to know someone and kind of see what they're all about, in a professional manner, not the Facebook or Instagram kind of social media stuff. But for me, I think that people need to be a little more honest on LinkedIn and show their skills. A lot of times people are just kind of, if I was a real estate agent and I lived in wherever, I probably would be posting on LinkedIn on what I've done, what I've sold, how good I am, to get people to look and take a chance, reach out and interview you for potentially a listing. And that could be for any position.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we are constantly thinking about how to make the right use of the digital world, the power of the digital world. And, you said it, you did read posts on LinkedIn before, you had 300 friends or connections on LinkedIn. Then once you posted something that reflected positivity, it got so much response. I mean, that says it all. I think, right there is a picture that I'm talking about, for all of our audience. Once again, that's Scott's picture with Michael, Raj, if you can. Yeah. And that simple act of friendship, simple act of kindness really moved many people. So what I'm taking away from that is, if you think something can spread that positivity, post it, send it, of course, in the right places, in the right avenues, send it, let people see it, let people feel the energy and the positivity from that post. Because most of the times we are consumers, but we are not producers, right? Most of the times we're just consuming information, but very little times do we actually take the deliberate step of producing a good piece of information, a good piece of content. So I think what this really reflects, and what I'm taking away from this, Scott, is that be also, when you see a good information, produce it, post it, make sure that you're spreading the positivity yourself, and not just consume. Am I on the right lines with you there?
Absolutely. And don't, 100%. I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me on LinkedIn because of that post that said, thank you, I needed that today. Or I can't, because of that post, I'm going to go out and do something. I want to do something for someone. I want to be involved. And, just 19 million people viewed it. But if one person changed someone's life, that right there was worth that post right there. And that's what people have to see, is you can actually make an impact on someone even if you're just posting something about yourself positive, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's involved in their life. But if they see something that motivates them in a positive manner, post it, bring it out. But don't post it to look for likes or look for comments. Just post it and throw it out there and let people take it for what it is. And then if they reach out to you or want to talk to you or want more information, then you do it. But that's just kind of what LinkedIn and social media is you can throw it out there and you're not looking for a pat on the back.
Absolutely. Well said. I think those acts that we can do on a daily basis, share with other people, spread the positivity. If it changes one person, I think you have made an impact in the world. That's very well said. I'm going to remember it that way. I could go on for the entire day with you, Scott, frankly. In fact, I'm going to ping you more in the future. I'm probably going to make a trip to Selma soon because of a couple of opportunities, because of something one of my good friends has offered. I'll definitely send you pictures for sure. And this has been great, Scott. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your examples of compassion and examples of how simple acts that we can do on a daily basis could really change the world. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope all of our audience enjoyed it. Any final comments, thoughts, Scott, that you want to share with our audience?
Well, I want to say thank you to you guys. I really appreciate you allowing me to tell this story, and hopefully it may help someone else or inspire someone else. But for me, it's just the world is, we have enough negativity in the world. We need some positivity, and I think that the more people that do it and see it and react to it, the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you so much, Scott, for your time with us today. And again, like I said, I can easily see this relationship that started here, having much more collaborations in the future. So thank you again. Raj, over to you.
Thank you, Vamshi. Thank you, Scott, for an awesome conversation. Last 30 minutes of golden time. I would certainly take. In fact, it had inspired me. Normally, I post for likes or comments, but thank you for the reminder, Scott. Not only on LinkedIn but on social media. Now that I will keep that in mind, so it's not just posting for likes or comments. So, thank you, Vamshi. I'll see you again in another episode of Direct Shift Stories. Please tune in for the same episode on Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. I'll send you the recordings. And for everybody hitting the replay, do send in your feedback too. This is your host, Raj Misa, and we'll see you in another episode of Direct Shift Stories. Thank you all.
Thank you.